Initiation. Begin.
Adventure KP.
He's solving riddles great and small.
Adventure KP.
Adventure games, he loves them all. Every day is a new quest, exploring north, south, east, and west. Point and click to find the answers that we seek. Adventure Geek.
Hello there, fellow adventurers. Tonight we're going to be delving into Harvester, a game in which you explore an underground bunker, solving puzzles and looking for your lost dog. Okay, just kidding. That's actually Harvest, an indie adventure created by Michael B. Clark. Harvester was released in 1996 and developed by DigiFX Interactive. It takes place in Harvest, a small town with a population of 51. Correction, 50. The game begins on a typical day in Harvest as we're woken up by the portentous clang of our alarm clock. Here we see our main protagonist, Steve Mason, as he wakes up and puts on his signature plaid flannel shirt. Steve is played by Kurt Kistler, who in this interview states that they wanted someone who looked all-American and clean-cut for the role of Steve. Well, nothing says all-American quite like a plaid shirt and jeans. Although Harvester wasn't a great critical or commercial success, it's harvested a real cult following over the years. There's a Facebook fan page as well as an associated YouTube channel called Lodge Level 4. If you're interested in learning more about the making of Harvester, I can't recommend this channel enough, but beware.
You can't watch the Harvester show without becoming a harvester. Think about that.
So what is a harvester anyway? Well, we don't find out until the very end of the game, but sometimes the townspeople will say some very strange things, from which you can imagine what being a harvester might involve.
The wheat ripens and waits not for the scythe. The farmer who waits too long, it were better that he use the scythe to rip his own stomach out than to stay his scythe when the wheat ripens.
Edna?
Steve, what happened?
You were saying something about wheat ripening and a farmer with a scythe ripping his own stomach? Oh well, I guess I was hearing things. Getting back to our all-American hero Steve, he soon finds out that he's not in Kansas anymore and is suffering from amnesia.
Look, I'm telling you, I need your help. I've lost my memory.
Have not. Cut it out.
I'm telling you the truth.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
Look, I'm not kidding.
Do you believe me?
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I'm not a kidder, honestly.
Shaw, you always were a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, I'm beginning to sense a pattern here.
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
Funny how that's beginning to sound like a stock answer. Like it was coached.
There's something not quite right about this town. I mean, for one thing, it looks like they're slaughtering cats for meat.
If you're surrounded by meat, you can't lose. You can eat it. Lovely, wet meat.
I guess this guy really likes meat.
My meat! My meat!
Yeah, he really likes meat. Steve's so-called mother, on the other hand, is obsessed with baking cookies for the annual bake sale. Not only that, but she also has a baby to take care of.
Darn that wasp woman! She's a monster, that's what she is!
Let's go confront the wasp woman about this. She lives in an abandoned house that's infested with wasps, and she thinks that wasps are just the bee's needs.
Carefree, wild, beautiful things. If they wish to share their love with babies, or any of the rest of you ignorant hicks, that is not my concern.
Hey, who are you calling an ignorant hick? Maybe we should get out of here before the police arrive. So, as you may have guessed, there's an element of combat in this game. although it's not until later that you'll need to fight to survive. You find various items that can be used as weapons, such as a shovel or a pitchfork, and if you're so inclined you can test them out around town. What a shocking display of violence in front of kids. They see enough violence on TV.
Leave me alone, will ya? This is the good part.
Let's visit the local TV station and get a behind-the-scenes look at the magic of Harvester television.
Oh, shit! Ow! Shit on a stickeroo!
The star of the show is Range Rider with a Y, a parody of the 1950s western Range Rider with an I.
And who could be more at home on the range than the Range Rider?
Harvester is essentially a satire on the effects of violence in the media.
Violence is as American as apple pie and low SAT scores.
For me, Harvester feels more like a virtual reality simulator that tests how you would react when put in a situation where you've lost your memory and are confronted by a twisted version of society. The characters you meet are all acting the part, just like in The Truman Show.
But it wouldn't be so exclusive if it wasn't just wonderful. Just like the new Reynolds dishwasher with their patented auto dry process, TM.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
Everyone you talk to keeps nattering on about getting into the lodge.
Join the lodge. Join the lodge, Steve.
This turns out to be our main objective, but first we must get past the Sergeant at Arms.
Only initiates may enter the Hall of the Order of the Harvest Moon.
Okay, so what must I do to become an initiate? Oh, deep-voiced, evil-sounding, monk-like person.
You must first fill out an application to be considered for initiation into the mysteries.
What, so I've got to submit an application? Look, I just filed my taxes. Do I really have to do more paperwork?
Whether you do or not matters little to me. Many are called, but few chosen.
This is actually a biblical reference to Matthew chapter 22, verse 14. Although, as we'll find out, the lodge is anything but holy. After filling out an application with questions such as, how often do you eat meat?
My meat!
The Sergeant at Arms gives us some tasks to do, or as he puts it, minor pranks.
There is in Harvest a man named Mr. Johnson. He owns a tucker. It is his pride and joy. I should like you to put a scratch in it.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous, but let's play along.
You rotten son of a bitch, bitch, bitch! Sheriff!
Oh shit, on a stickeroo, look how wounded we are. Fortunately, we can take some aspirin that makes us feel good as new. Right, now we can scratch the car. Or not. The golden rule of adventure gaming to save often certainly applies here. From the in-game tips, we learn that if you get stuck on a puzzle, try using items in crazier logical ways. Sounds familiar. The puzzles in Harvester center around fulfilling the minor pranks set by the Sergeant at Arms, but there are other side quests that aren't essential but add to the harvesting experience. For example, you can catch the school principal canoodling with the teacher in the broom closet. If you snap a photo of them, you can give it to your so-called brother in exchange for a Robbie the Robot toy, which has no use as far as I know, unless it's an inside reference to Rob for the NES. Another option is to show the photo around town.
My stars, that's scandalous.
This really pisses off the principal.
I'll have my revenge, Steve. And it will come at the worst possible time.
That time ultimately comes in the Lodge's inner sanctum.
And as revenge for showing photos of my lieutenant and Miss Whaley around Harvest, I'm going to make it especially difficult for you.
Oh boy, I better get my trusty rifle out for this. Yep, that did the trick. The game also has a plethora of different dialogue options to choose from in the form of keywords. You can even go old school and type in keywords manually, which can elicit some rather indecent results.
What a thing to say to your mother. Was that an invitation now that your father is out of action?
So where is your so-called father? Well, he's apparently not feeling too well, but if we break into his room, we discover some even more indecent goings-on.
What the hell is going on in here?
I know it's a mystery to you. The sacred things that husbands and wives do behind closed doors. Maybe we should have that special father-son talk. Especially now that you're getting married.
Oh, that's right, how could I forget? Steve is engaged to be married to Stephanie, the only other person in Harvest who's also lost their memory and feels trapped in this place.
I feel so close to you, Steve. Like we're the only two people in Harvest. The only two real people. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed I do.
I want you. Make love to me.
Indeed I will. Hey, who's that watching? Turns out it's the man who really loves his meat, Stephanie's so-called father.
How dare you! I'm no peeping Tom! I had no idea that was there!
What can I say? The more I find out about Harvester, the more perverse and disturbing it becomes.
Oh, the things I could do to you with just a little quality time.
Is that the bell? School's out! I could go on for ages about all the nuances of Harvester, but the lodge beckons and I think it's about time we ventured inside. This section of the game plays differently from the rest in that it descends into a full-on gore fest, in which you fight desperately to stay alive. The lodge has several levels and rooms that represent different virtues or vices, which reminded me of the Helix Tower in Eastern Mine. I can't reveal too much of what goes on at the lodge, so you'll have to become an initiate yourself to learn all of its mysteries.
Heretic! You have not seen the light, my son!
Suffice it to say that you must have faith to achieve enlightenment. Or a good chainsaw. For me, Harvester is a flawed but fascinating adventure into the darkest reaches of the human psyche. There's so much more to it than violence and gore, and I just can't get enough of that special harvest pie. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 bloody chickens with pulleys in the middle. So, I highly recommend you experience Harvester for yourself if you dare, and spend some quality time in Harvest.
Drop in again soon. Adult education is a wonderful thing, as is adult quality time.
Well, nothing says all-American quite like a plaid shirt and jeans.